everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to the cold case series. I hope you all enjoyed last week's video. This week, we're still talking about, I'm not talking about a specific cold case, but I'm talking about a person who, I'm talking about Henry Lee Lucas this week. And if you guys don't know who Henry Lee Lucas is, he's a man that confessed to killing, like, I think they said like 600 people, and then he actually didn't do like half of them. So all those cases that those families they needed justice for, they didn't get justice, but the cases remained closed. And we're talking about Henry Lee Lucas. He did in fact kill, like, I would say 60 people, but he did not kill 600 people as he confessed to doing. But yeah, so we're not talking about a specific cold case this week. We're talking about 600 of them that aren't technically cold cases anymore, but still are, because he is not their killer. And also, if you go and on Netflix, there is a docu-series about this. It's called The Confession Killer, and it gives you a lot of information about Henry Lee Lucas and shows you like how he acts and how the police kind of just like became best friends with him and like passed off a lot of things that he did. I don't know. I don't like it, but whatever. I mean, the series is good, but I don't like Henry Lee Lucas. He's a little angering. But yeah, that's what we're talking about this week. So today I'm going to be doing a makeup look. It's going to be like an orangish makeup look. It's inspired by his one victim that they labeled orange socks, because that's all they could identify her by was her orange socks. So I'm just going to be doing like an orangish look today, inspired by Henry Lee Lucas and his messed up self. Like and subscribe if you like this series. Please let me know. And any more cold cases you want me to talk about. Like, I know this isn't specific like a cold case, but or any serial killers you want me to talk about, just drop it below and I'll do it. Alright, let's get started. Okay, so I prime my eyes again on camera because that takes me like a hot second. I don't know why. Okay, so I prime my eyes on camera, and like I said, all the products I use will be in the like little box below. And I brought you guys closer so you can see what I was doing better. Yeah, so let's get started. Also, if you see me looking over here, my mirror is over here, so that's what's happening. So let's talk about Henry Lee Lucas. Our guy was born on August 23rd, 1936 in Blacksburg, Virginia. He was one out of 9 siblings. I can't imagine having 9 siblings. He was raised by abusive, alcoholic parents, which kind of, again, with serial killers, I'll probably talk about this a lot, but it brings up like nature versus nurture, blah, 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 you know. And like, did their upbringing cause this, like their, psychopathic ways? With him, I think it did, because it messed him up pretty bad. His mother was, in charge of the household, and she prostituted herself in the woods, like, to make money for them. And as a teenager, he was, that's where his, like, sexual, like, they said sexual deviance, but, like, that's where he, like, he's so gross. I don't like him. Ugh. He's gross. That's where he started to get more, like, sexual and, like, weird. Like, he definitely, has had sex with, like, animals and, like, I think it's, like, his stepbrother? Half-brother. Oh! No thanks. That's disgusting. And dead animals. So, okay, usually for serial killers, if they kill dead animals, that's like usually a sign, hey, kill dead animals, kill animals, and then like do stuff to them. It's obviously a sign of a serial killer. Okay, so Henry Lee Lucas, he So yeah, he had sex with animals and his half-brother. So that's kind of not cool. So he spent his teen years in and out of jail. So he was not a good kid, obviously. He did not have a good upbringing. He got into a lot of trouble. I mean, he didn't really know what right was from wrong, and if he did, he just chose wrong. That's just how it be sometimes. In March 1960, he was sentenced to 20 to 40 years in prison for murdering his mom. That's like his biggest thing. Like, he killed his mother. Oh, he's such a terrible person. So he killed his mom. He was sent to Jackson State Penitentiary. Yeah, that's how you... Penitentiary? Why does it sound so wrong? State Penitentiary in southern Michigan, but after 2 attempted suicides, they sent him to the Ione State Mental Hospital, and he got parole in 1970 after serving 10 years. Bro, he was supposed to go to jail for 40 to 50 years, and he got parole after serving 10 years because he went... Now, he was already cuckoo. I think he knew what he was doing here. But anyways, so yeah. So he gets out and he's on parole after serving only 10 years in prison. That's kind of... well, suspicious. So a year after he got out, he was sentenced for 5 more years to kidnap a 15-year-old girl at gunpoint. Henry Lee Lucas is not a good guy. After his second release in 1975, he traveled to Michigan, where he teamed up with a petty theft named Otis Toole. They hyped each other up, you know, like, oh yeah, this is gonna be great, like, we're raping people, blah 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 blah, like, this is gonna be so good, like, this was such a good plan. No, they're disgusting. So they shared an unhealthy interest in rape, like I said, together, and death. They traveled, in October 1979, they traveled across the country together, so, like, that was what the main thing they were doing together, was traveling the country. In 1979, Lucas traveled the country accompanied by Otis and his young niece, Becky Powell, who was intellectually disabled. So even though Becky was intellectually disabled, and first of all, this is his niece, that is what is disgusting. They have a relationship. A sexual relationship. I'm sorry, but that is nasty. That is your niece. It says they became romantically involved. You can't become romantically involved with your family. That's disgusting. I'm sorry, but that is nasty. So, ew. They filled one another's lifelong need for love and respect. I do think he actually loved her, but it's freaking weird because it's his niece, but whatever. So despite this romance, guess what? He killed her. Along with Catherine Rich, an elderly woman with whom they'd been staying. So a nice little old lady that had lent them her home. They killed her. So he's back on his killing antics. He's back on his BS, you know how it be. In June 1983, Lucas was arrested for possession of a deadly weapon. In his cell, he began confessing to hundreds of murders. This is where it like all begins. And egged on by investigators from around the country, he confessed his confessions were literally like crazy. Like he was really like pulling for things, like, and like the way he like described certain things, there's no way he could have done it. Like watching the documentary, the families were like, no, we know he didn't kill our daughter. They were like, no, he didn't kill our daughter. There's no way he could have, you know, came in and blah, 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 blah. Like, there were certain times where he actually was another place and he was, like, logging, like, work hours. And he says he's confessed to these crimes. Like, that makes, buddy, the police are always gonna know. Like, stupid. So they're egging him on, basically. And, like, telling him, like, wow, how many more people did you kill? and then they're like showing him pictures of cases, and they're like, oh, did you do this one? Did you do this one? And he's like, yep. And then by looking at all the cases and how they were killed, because the police just let him like look at the files and everything, that's a big problem in like this whole situation, is like the police became like buddies with him, and like that is not he is a criminal. You can't become best friends with a criminal, bro. So they let him look at all these files, and they let him you know, not be in handcuffs. They bring him like his favorite soda, or no, it's a strawberry milkshake, like every day, and like he tells them more information about cases. And the FBI is the state, like, no, it's also the FBI, but they were so quick to try and get all these cases closed. They didn't actually like stop to think like for a second, like, oh, I don't think he's actually the one who did it. He did not confess. I mean, he did not commit all these murders he says he did, because there's literally no way that he could. And the government knew that. And that's what's so frustrating, is all these cases are now closed, because he confessed to them, and the government was like, no, we're not reopening them. Even though they knew he didn't actually do them. Isn't that so annoying? All those families didn't even get justice for their daughters or sons. I think it's just daughters. But anyways, they didn't get justice for their family members being killed. And like, that's not okay. So, it's really unclear actually how many murders he did commit. He was confessing to all these different ones, and he was getting treated nicely, so obviously he was gonna keep up with this like facade of him being this like, you know, psychopathic killer and like doing all these terrible things, which he did do terrible things, don't get me wrong, but he didn't kill all those people. And some of the police officers knew it. Some of them knew that he didn't kill all those people. But some think it was just 3. Okay, so it was like Becky Powell, the lady he was staying with, and then I'm pretty sure Orange Socks, like they were for sure, like they knew. I don't actually remember her name, but I'll get there in a second. But he was sentenced to death after this whole thing. But the sentence was later commuted to life imprisonment. So, he didn't even get the death penalty. He just got sentenced to life because at the time, Texas Governor George W. Bush he switched the sentence. Instead of the death sentence, he got a life imprisonment. Let's talk about Orange Socks. Oh, so he died while on death row. He became a Christian. Like the documentary talks about, like the Christian lady, like the nun or whatever she was, I don't know, but she like came to his cell every day and she like talked with him all the time. I don't know, she said he was a new man, and he actually did really care for her, but like, I don't know, he's messed up in the head, so I would not really trust him if I were her, but I mean, he's dead now, so. So he spent the last 18 years of his life as a model prisoner, so like he did everything right and he was a good guy. Okay. He died in Huntsville, Texas prison from natural causes on March 12, 2001 at the age of 64. Wow. Okay, so like Lucas just confessed to all these crimes to like please the law enforcement, and that's kind of I can't believe they let him do that. I mean, they didn't really know he didn't confess these crimes, but after they did their research, yeah, I think they knew, because he couldn't have been in all these different places, and like the way he said he killed the people didn't really match up. Like you could tell it was just from him having read a lot of the case files. But yeah, Orange Socks. So eventually he was convicted of 11 murders. In 1984, he was sentenced to death for the 1979 murder of an unidentified woman. So he was sentenced to death but her actual name, she was identified in 2019. That's crazy that she wasn't identified until 2019. This happened in 1979. Her name is Deborah Jackson, and she was not identified until last year. And that makes me really upset, but with all of his murders, we don't actually know who he killed and who he didn't. That's what's like kind of weird about him. It's like you don't really know actually which ones he killed. That he killed her and he had all this evidence and like he told them where to find her and then they found her there and then so they were like, oh yeah, he definitely did this. But I don't know. There was still a lot of evidence that like didn't match up to what he was saying. I don't know. It's all shady. He confessed to all these murders and it was literally, he said it was just to please law enforcement. Like, again, it's because they were treating him with respect and I don't think he's ever been treated with respect, like, in his life. And he kept giving them this information, but little did they know it was not actually true. He didn't actually commit the crime. So that's what's annoying. What's kind of weird though is he like knows where some of the bodies are, and that's kind of like if they weren't found, like if there was a missing person one, he kind of knew where some of them were. So that's why we don't actually know like how many he committed, like how many crimes, how many murders he committed. Because again, he was also working with that guy Otis, and so because he was working with Otis, like him and Otis both could have, you know, worked together on these murders. So yeah, and I know you're probably like, okay, so is that it? You're done talking? Well, let's talk about the Texas Rangers that were involved in this and how the FBI just let all these cases stay close. At least I'm pretty sure it was the FBI, but it's both the Texas Rangers and the FBI working together. So the Texas Rangers, they were heroes because they found the murderer of all these people, blah blah blah. And they locked up the murderer, and Lucas, he got the benefits from everything, you know. And what's crazy is DNA testing was able to resolve about 20 of the cases, which was sad because they had to reopen, you know, that part of their lives that they didn't, you know, they already went through that. And at the time, the reason I think he could confess to all of these is because at the time they didn't have the DNA test. But a lot of these cases just stayed closed. And that is what is really frustrating to me, is that the government just let these cases stay shut after he confessed to them. And I'm sorry, but he didn't do them. So they should have reopened them, and I don't know why they didn't, but they were like, no. Well, the police were the bad guys also in this instance, which is very frustrating because, you know, police are always supposed to be good guys. But as we're seeing, even in today's society, not all police are good guys. So all the cases that he confessed to, most of them stayed shut, and that was very frustrating, especially for the families, like I said, of many of the cases, because they wanted justice, you know, obviously, as people do, for their family members. And the government straight up was like, nah. And like, that is like my biggest pet peeve about Henry Lee Lucas. Like, obviously he's a bad person, so that's kind of annoying. He's a horrible person, but it's just really frustrating because all these innocent families, like, and they're innocent, like, the victims, like, the innocent victims who were killed, don't even get justice because this man confessed to all of them. Maybe it just stems from him wanting to be cared for, and the police actually do that. And, like, that's something he's never gotten, you know, in his life. Respect. But that's Henry Lee Lucas for you. All of his cases, you can find so much more about this on the internet. I hope I talked enough about everything. And, like, it's really sad, like I said before, that all these families, like, also, why is there so much more powder on that side? This side than that side. But all these families, oh, it's all over me. That's fine, we love that. All these families didn't get the justice they deserved, and it's kind of not Okay, please take care of each other, and again, keep advocating for Breonna Taylor's murderers to be arrested, Elijah McClain's murderers to be arrested. All these police officers need to be arrested. Help each other and not bring each other down. And there's a lot of that on YouTube right now, and I'm just don't feed into any of that, because it's not good. Alright, I'm gonna finish my makeup and then we'll finish up this video. Alright guys, I hope you liked this video today. Sorry, my hair looks like a mess. I had my bangs pinned back, so now they're like nasty. I hope you liked this video today. If you did, give it a thumbs up, a like, a comment, a subscribe, you know, all that fun stuff. And sorry today wasn't like a long video, or you're probably like, why wasn't it about a specific case? I just wanted to talk about Henry Lee Lucas. I just think he's really interesting, and the fact that he got away with all that, and he convinced all those officers that he killed like 600 people. That's kind of wild to me. Sometimes I'm going to be talking about serial killers on here in this series, but it's mainly going to be about cold cases. Today was technically still about cold cases, just about how Henry Lee Lucas, he tried to solve a bunch by saying he killed all of them. But anyways, I hope you guys like this video, and take care of each other, and have a great day. I love you all. Thank you for watching.